Step into the paranormal with Ernie Atwell and David Seiler, brought to you by Paranormal Inc., right here on WLFE DB Radio.
Well, hello, everybody.
Guess who is back?
Yeah, it's been a while, but
do you remember us? You remember
yeah,
our
do you
name?
remember us? That's Dave. Wait a minute. Who's that? No, that's Ernie. And
I'm the little guy in the big chair.
Yeah, and I'm the big guy in the little chair. I'm Dave. Nice to meet you. So, welcome to episode 63 of Step Into the Paranormal.
Wow.
Yeah, 63.
Seems like it should be more.
Yeah, but we've been slacking lately because everything that's going on.
I know we've had so much going on, and then trying to fit everyday life in as well, and
yeah, it kind of gets we're just like gumshoed, So,
Loren, John, what's
up,
guys?
y'all?
Colette,
welcome.
Hey, we got a great episode tonight, but we have amazing guests. But at the end, stick around. We got just a quick few announcements of some upcoming
we actually have some
events
things coming up.
Some what?
Some things.
Oh, I thought you said some fakes.
Some things.
But we have an amazing guest tonight. Instead of trying to go into everything about our guest, myself or Dave, I say we just bring her in and let her tell us what she does and what she's all about.
Mystery guest, please sign in.
What's up, Connie? How are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
Long time no see.
I know.
Has it been a month?
I think so. Months since Gettysburg.
I can't believe it's been a month already,
It's
though.
been a month already.
Well,
We start the countdown at 364, and then before you know it, we're like, "Damn, can't believe
we've already got our rooms for the next one."
Yeah.
So.
Did hey, you saw that it's a new venue, right?
Is it?
Yes, it's a whole different
hotel.
Everything's
the Eisenhower / what's the other side of it?
Aspire
Eisenhower. That's it.
Yeah, it's a whole new location. So
absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. I need to check that out. I just booked a room and I was like, okay, whatever. I clicked on the link, booked the room. I was like,
which side? Because it's two different sides. Which side did you?
Right, it's a hotel shaped like this, and there's two different hotels that come together with one conference center in the middle.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, let me look at it because now I'm concerned. I was like, oh my gosh.
So while we're here,
and I can't find it right now. Of course, I thought I had it like right there.
Figure it out.
Yeah, I need to find out because I had an issue with my room this last time because they didn't have one for me after I
can tell you, and this is how I made my decision. And for those that know me will know why. But you have poolside,
which is the Eisenhower,
and then you have regular side,
which doesn't have the pool on the back, the banner, the gazebo, the boardwalk.
Now, at this last one a few weeks ago, all the events outside and everything. Well, at this new location, all the after-hour stuff for all of us that are in the event is on the pool side.
The Eisenhower side, right.
Which means, Ernie goes to his room early to go to bed. So I took the other side where there's no noise.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, good idea.
So,
I don't even know what I got or where.
Anyway.
Hopefully it's at the right place.
When you check in, we'll find out. We'll meet in the middle in the hotel lobby.
Exactly. We'll find out. I love Gettysburg. I think it's great here.
I'm sure everyone watching or listening or anyone that's going to watch knows exactly who you are. But for those few that don't, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Who are you and what do you do?
What do you do?
Where do I start? Okay. I've been in the paranormal since probably before I was born. And paranormal investigator, hypnotherapist. I do a lot of past life regressions and things like that. Usui and Karuna Reiki master, psychic medium. And I'm a full Mesa carrier shaman trained in the Incan Peruvian lineage of the Caro. And so I own Sacred Space Spiritual Center in Brandon, Florida. I do healings, hypnotherapy, past life regression, stuff like that. and I do them in person as well as remotely. So, I'm the lead investigator for PERS, Paranormal Existence Research Society. Bill Slevin, he is the founder. So he's on the East Coast of Florida. I'm on the West Coast. So I lead the West Coast chapter, and I'm also a member of the Warren Legacy Foundation for Paranormal Research.
Oh,
Wow.
nice.
Wow. Yeah, we were supposed to go up to the Warrens thing, but
we were invited to be in the Warrens Paracon this October, but we had other things pre-scheduled for that month, but we didn't have definitive dates for the events we're hosting. And of course, once the dates come through, they're the same as,
of course.
You know what I mean? So we had to pick and choose, and since ours were kind of pre-ordered, we had to kind of go with ours. So hopefully next year we can make it up.
It's funny how something's coming up and you just know, you're like, it's going to be on the same day as this one other thing. And then
I can tell you what, man, I am the master of double booking. You know what I mean? But I'm getting better. I'm getting better at it. Connie, I have to ask you, with a resume like you have in this field, and this may be a broad question, but out of everything you do, what aspect is your most favorite?
I absolutely love anything paranormal. I love investigating. So if I'm not doing, any of this other stuff, like I just want to investigate. I don't have to do all this other stuff. The mediumship thing, like that kicks in on its own, whether it's intentional or not, but I can also control it. So if I don't want it to happen, then it won't. But I will investigate any place, anytime, anywhere, like any chance that I get. The shamanic stuff is very, very special. There's a lot that goes into it. A lot of people don't really know what a shaman is, AKA medicine woman. Some people are kind of confused as to what that is, but essentially a shaman is somebody who works in the spirit realm. And so I do, bless you, healing sessions for people. So shamanic healing session, a wide variety of things. And it's just what I am told to do, what spirit has guided me to do. So it could be working with a particular chakra. I'm working in the energetic field. It could be a soul retrieval. We all lose pieces of our souls. We lose fragments during times of trauma, in relationships, surgeries, accidents. It's a very natural thing that happens, and I actually can go and retrieve them. I can pull up soul contracts and help clients to change them, whether they're big or small or, everything in between. I remove energy from the body that doesn't belong there, heavy energy, entities, you name it. If it doesn't belong there, I can get it out. But I absolutely love doing shamanic stuff. It's very, very helpful. I do, house clearings and blessings and all that stuff. So a lot of what I do can be incorporated into investigations. Like if I'm working with somebody, with a residential case and perhaps they need healing or they need help or, they need a house clearing or a blessing. If they've got an attachment, I can remove the attachment, but we've got to do healing work as well. You can't just, sometimes if somebody's had an attachment, you remove it, it's just going to come right back. There's healing work that's involved with that.
You were saying, like, for example, you can help someone that has, like, I don't know if the word you used was attachment, but you can help someone that has like an energy attached or something that's not supposed to be there.
Yep.
What where my curiosity goes, like, suppose you're at an event or you're hosting an event or you're anywhere for that matter, and someone just comes up to you in everyday conversation can you pick up on if they have that attachment, or do you generally wait for them to come to you like for help and then you look into seeing if they have something there? How does that work?
Well, everybody is going to have an attachment at some point in their life. And most of us are walking around with several attachments, and we just
Right.
don't realize it. It doesn't mean that it's demonic. It doesn't mean that it's bad, that it's trying to hurt you or anything like that. But most of us are walking around with them. A lot of times they're ancestral attachments. Sometimes when I'm interacting with somebody, I know right away, I'm picking up on it and I can tell. But a lot of times, if I'm just interacting with somebody, probably not. When I'm working with somebody, sometimes as soon as they come to me, I know right away what's going on. Sometimes I discover it as I'm in energy field and I discover these things. And I kind of believe that they present themselves at the right time. So if I'm working on a client, it's going to present itself because I need to go get it. I need to remove it. It's not going to present itself if it's not the right time, unless it's kind of like, well, there's a lot of stuff that's been done. I'm just letting you know that this is here, but the client needs to do X, Y, and Z before we can handle that. So I've had, I don't even know how many attachments removed from myself. I was born with one, and I always knew that something was wrong. I knew there were so many times, even as a child, I would look into a mirror and expect to see somebody else's reflection.
Wow.
Even saying my name sometimes was very difficult because I felt like I wasn't myself. And that's been all throughout my life. And so, I didn't know what it was. And when I was in hypnotherapy school, somebody was like, oh, 30% of people have attachments. And I was like, oh, well, I think I have one. And they're like, no, you don't have one. Well, come to find out, I had like 4.
And what for those that don't know exactly what we're talking about, when you say like someone has, 3 attachments, 4 attachments, what have you, can you explain a little bit exactly what you mean by an attachment or
Right.
what exactly it is?
So it's something, like an ancestor that has passed on. I had a client and her great uncle was actually attached to her. It could be something that is non-human. It could be, just some type of entity that is just drawn to this person. Maybe they're engaging in things that are not in their best interest, and are not leading a clean lifestyle, as you would say.
Right.
So it could be, spirit. It could be non-human. It could be ancestral spirits. A lot of times they're not necessarily dangerous, but they can fuel us. Mine was fueling negative emotions and things like that. And I could
Now,
tell.
in your professional opinion, and I'm basically trying to think of questions that people may have.
Well, I have one.
But
So right now, I know my grandmother and grandfather are attached to me. They make their presence known in my house regularly. But to me, that's not a negative attachment. So can attachments be positive?
you were getting right. It's like you read my mind.
I'm hung around.
Well, are they attached to you or are they just in your home? Because there's a difference.
Well, I know that they come to place with me. And for example, several years ago, I was in the middle of a very nasty part of my life, really bad, to the point where Ernie and I actually set up an impromptu investigation because I had cabinets opening and, it was like something was trying to get our attention. And my grandmother's name came across the Phasma box. Now, she has a very unique name. I don't give it out to anybody. And so we did our thing and we were talking to her as if just in case. The next day, a friend of mine who is actually a psychic medium calls me up and says, Dave, your grandmother hates and bang. I'm like, why? And she came out with my grandmother's name. And I could give you a million guesses, you'll never get the name. And she came up with it like that.
And the thing is, before we did this to try to figure out what was going on here, I mean, as close as I am to Dave for all these years, I never even knew his grandmother's name. So it was pretty foreign to me when that's what I got. You know what I mean?
And he heard
when
it on the Phasma.
when I presented it to Dave, then that's how I found out who she was.
So it was very, but they've always, since the incidents happened, it's become quiet every now and then. Like I'll turn to a mirror and I'll see my grandfather standing there in the mirror, and I take a double take and he's gone. So I think they're attached to me, and they make their presence known regularly. Like I'll hear his name, I'll hear her name, and just things that I know that are familiar, and it gives me comfort.
Right. So they may not actually be attached. They might just be around. If they're attached, they're like in your energetic field, feeding off of your energy. So in order for something to be attached, it has to have a hook. It has to have a reason. And yes, like I said, ancestors can hook in and they can attach and things like that. But to answer your question, they don't have to be harmful to be attached to you. That doesn't mean that, it's doing something wrong, but it's not in our best interest, nor is it in their best interest to be in that situation. So I don't feel that yours are actually attached. I just feel like they're strongly with you and not attached to you. So there's a difference. And because you're able to sense them and see them and hear them and stuff like that, you're more aware of that. And
well, I'm a lay minister with the United Methodist Church, so I have a very spiritual background. And this is my personal, so if I offend anybody, my bad. When you go to heaven,
I'm offended. No, I'm joking.
And go through the pearly gates and all that, it would be sheer hell for me to be just stuck there not knowing what my family would be. In my belief, I would be able to come back down and visit them anyway. At least that's in my opinion. So it would be that would be my heaven, to watch my kids grow up, to my grandkids, the family, and watch them. And if I could help in any way, that would be my heaven. So that's how I look at things. So in the same token, coming from a spiritual side, there's definitely in the Bible where God, Jesus, and the apostles saw spirits, which means that there's a way to see them. Now, personally, I feel some weird things every now and then, but I don't see spirits. So there are those few gifted that can see those. So if I'm trying to just put this together in my head, that if they can do that, or if there's other things out there that I don't want to get involved with, that those psychic mediums, those prophets, those Reiki masters, those that can really see them. And so there's a lot of people that do the falsehoods, but the thing is, how do you tell the difference between somebody who can really do it and who's bullshit? And I'm going to say that flat out.
Well, everybody has abilities. Not everybody is in tune with them. You can develop them. You can grow them. Some people are just for the money and attention. And, then there's the other people that, are trying to help. You will be wrong as a medium. You have to get out of your own way when it comes to ego. It's a scary thing to be wrong, and come here. It's a very scary thing. I have a special guest that's wanting to say hello.
I hear a purr. That is what I hear. Nailed it. I heard the purr over the mic.
Yes, this is Saint.
Hi, Saint.
Yes, he's fairly new to the family. So, yes, he and Daisy are now getting acquainted. He's the French bulldog, but he just came out of his hut and was going to knock over my light. So I figured I would grab him before he did that.
Yeah, I have a cat that looks exactly like Figaro from Minnie Mouse, and I had a Rottweiler that just passed like 2 weeks ago.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, she was my baby girl. So 13 years we had her, and she was 15 years old. We got her as a stray. So I'm a critter lover.
I think we all are.
Don't do that. Oh my gosh, the cat is like trying to step on the dog. I'm like, don't do that. Yes, like you are in my way and I don't care. So there are people who are psychics, mediums, psychic mediums, who may think that they know what they're doing and they don't, but maybe they have a good intention, but they're just not quite developed. So, I don't like to think that you're either real or you're malicious. You know what I'm saying? I think some people are just not properly developed. I tend to ask questions, and I like to do evidential style mediumship where it's kind of like maybe I'm getting a memory or something that I'm just not making up. Like if I'm like, okay, well, I feel your grandmother is with you and she wore an apron and I see her putting a turkey in the oven and making Thanksgiving dinner. Like how common is that?
Exactly.
We want the evidential stuff. Like, okay, well, I'm seeing her sitting
her
at a
name
table
came up. When her
playing
name came up,
cards. Right. Hobbies. Like she's sitting at a card table, she's playing bridge. You want to be very specific and get that specific information. And then, we have some people that believe like, if you're a psychic or medium, you shouldn't charge anybody for your services. How dare you? I totally disagree with that, because if you are a singer, you're not just born singing. You never take lessons. You're putting your time and energy and effort and money into your craft, and you're performing for people. Well, when you are doing psychic readings or mediumship, you are acting as a translator and you are honing in on a skill. And maybe you have, taken classes to help develop yourself, or you have put in, so much time with reading and meditation and whatever the case may be to develop your skill set. So I think charging money is fine. I don't think taking advantage of people is fine. So, if you see somebody and they're like, oh yeah, you have a curse and I need $40 to remove it, like get out of here, or, oh, I'm connecting with this person, but I need to go deeper, but that's going to cost you an extra $50. Like, no, I don't do that. But like, I do things that I'm called to do. I tend to not, people will ask me like, hey, can I book a reading with you? I tend to not do it that way because I like to do other things. Like maybe I do it while I'm doing a healing session and I just allow it to flow. Or, I like to do gallery readings. I think gallery readings are really, really fun. But if at all possible, I try to give everybody something if I possibly can. I think that that's really important. I have a great respect for people who are, working hard at their mediumship skills, and I like learning from them and see how they do things and if it's different from the way that I do it. And I think that, we all can tap in various ways. Like I don't audibly hear a whole lot, and that's one of the things that I'm not too sad about. And something's yelling in your ear. But, I think it's cool when somebody else has that ability, and you can strengthen that ability. So I tend to ask a lot of questions because I get readings from people from time to time. So I'll ask them questions and kind of feel them out and stuff. But I don't think it's a good idea for people just to let anybody give them a reading. Like, somebody's on Facebook, they're doing readings. Hey, like who wants a reading? Okay, well, you're allowing that person into your energetic field. Like, who is this person?
Yeah.
Right.
You
Right.
got to be careful.
Back before the beginning of this conversation, the question I was originally going to ask, and I guess it's pretty simple. When you were talking about, like, for example, a person can have a loved one attached or whomever. Now, let's say you have a loved one that's attached and it's a good person. They mean absolutely no harm. Okay. If you don't get them removed? Like, even if it's a good soul and it's a, good intent, is that still a bad thing that should be removed? You understand what I'm saying?
Yes. So if I come across that when I'm working with somebody, I remove it, because
Okay.
when I remove them, I'm sending them to heaven. I'm
Okay.
sending them for healing. And we don't want them to feel yes, like I want to check on my family, make sure my family's fine. I totally believe in that, but they do that anyway. They can do that as soon as we think about them. They're here. There's no such thing as time and space. So they can be in heaven and be here at the same time. But if they're attached to us, then they're not there. So
Now, are if you have a loved one or a soul that's attached to you, is that a deliberate action, or can that occur? Can they become attached unknowingly? You understand what I mean?
I think that it can happen unknowingly, but it's because of their emotion. So let's say that somebody is dying and they have a child and they're like freaking out because they know they're dying and they don't want to leave their child behind. Those emotions at the time of death could cause that attachment to happen. That's just my belief, that their emotion has caused that because they are so laser focused on that. They're not looking over here. They're not seeing their loved ones coming to help them. They're just laser focused on this, and then they get attached. But sometimes it can be very intentional. So, you can get an attachment at Walmart. People don't understand. They think like you have to be Walmart. I had somebody, she had an attachment just walking through the woods, and it was a child. But they are attracted to something. They have to hook into something, and it's generally pain, like grieving, sadness, guilt. They have to have a commonality in order to hook in. If it's just something that's just, around. Now, I had an attachment recently. I don't know what the hook was, but I got it during an investigation. And I preach about spiritual protection all the time. I tell people, do the spiritual protection. It doesn't matter who you are. I am a shaman. I do things that are extremely dangerous, and I have to use spiritual protection. I layer it on. Just because I am a highly spiritual person doesn't mean that I am impervious. It doesn't work that way. It's actually the opposite. I am actually more susceptible to attack. But the problem was, I went to Bobby Mackey's and I had no sleep. I'd been up for 24 hours. It was 30 degrees outside, and it was about 45 degrees inside. And I was freezing cold, exhausted, hungry. I didn't protect myself enough. And I don't even remember what I did, if I did any protection, to be completely honest. But I ended up with an attachment, and it was like a series of unfortunate events, one after another in my life. Everything just felt off. I just didn't feel right. I was sick. Everything that could possibly go wrong. The last straw, as funny as this sounds, I found hair in my food for the second time when going to a restaurant. I was like, I can't even have food, like all these things are happening. I can't even do this. And people that are in my life that are not even highly spiritual were saying to me, like, do you think you have an attachment? I feel like something's wrong. And finally I'm just like, yeah, I do. So I actually had to go and have somebody help me with that. But it can happen to anybody. And I tell people, especially if you're empathic, protect your energy. Just as you would not have somebody come into your home that is going to steal from you, you need to protect your spiritual energy. If you're going to a family dinner and your Uncle Carl is really mean to you and he's got like bad energy and he makes you feel some kind of way, you need to protect your energy. Or, you know, you go to like your Aunt Philomena's house and she is, you know, just completely off her rocker, or, you know, you're going to a concert, or you're going, you know, to even have a difficult conversation with somebody, you know, call upon that strength, protect your energy. You don't want to be affected by somebody else's emotions, you know? So I tell people it's like a muscle. You've got to work to strengthen it and really get those spiritual boundaries in place.
I get what you're saying, and Dave, you'll understand where I'm going with this. Dave and I got called out of state, I guess about 2 years ago, to investigate a guy's house.
Mm-hmm.
Well, lo and behold, it was his roommate trying to scare him out. But I mean, and we were picking up on this based on different evidence he was sending us pre-investigation. However, you know, we still had to go do our thing.
Right.
It was so funny because the homeowner stayed with us during the investigation, and he was a big help.
And I had several cameras set up
Now,
around, audio things.
The thing is, I don't feel, I mean, I don't really feel anything. You know what I mean? Like some people, they walk in and they can, oh, they're attaching to me and I can feel that. And that's not me.
No.
You know, but during the investigation, I don't know what come over me, what come over the house. But I told Dave, I'm like,
you could feel
something don't feel right. I'm like, something in here in this, I don't know, is the atmosphere, the environment, something has changed. And
we were being told it was a demon by this, by the homeowner, because his roommate kept seeing stuff that were demonic and she was a witch.
Right. But
yeah, I was going to say, I feel like she was fooling around with something she shouldn't have been fooling around with.
Here's the thing, Connie. Like, for no rhyme or reason, I just felt off kilter. And I told Dave this. Well, come to find out, when I started feeling those things, the roommate had entered the residence without us knowing it
downstairs.
And it was the weirdest thing, because that just doesn't happen to me. I'm just not that person.
Yeah.
And as soon as she come in, man, it was like everything changed.
Yeah, you could feel because you know, he was still upstairs. I was downstairs on the porch, and she was coming in. She was supposed to be there during the whole thing because we wanted to get her side of the view.
Yeah.
The interesting part is, during this investigation, we thought the homeowner lost his mind, because a voice came across the spirit box, and we recognized his name. We just said it out loud. It's your name, blah, blah, blah. And his face went. He goes scurrying out of the room, like scared. We're like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah, like a nerve was just struck.
You hear him running, doing something downstairs, and he comes running back up with this piece of paper. It was the deed that he got the house with. The owner's name was it. So we said to the owner, thinking, you know, maybe it's the owner caused a problem. Like, why are you doing this to him? And the spirit box comes across, not me.
Well, the thing was, her malicious intent to scare this guy out of his own home.
Oh yeah, she was doing some shit.
That was the intent. But her actions in doing so sparked up legitimate activity, which in turn, the original owner, I guess, who took a liking to the person who now owns his home, he started trying to warn him, like, hey, it's the roommate doing this.
Well,
so it was something out of a movie. It
was. Well, when we came across, you know, we said, why are you doing this? And he's like, not me. You could go right on the spirit box. And we're like, well, who is it? And it's roommate. At that point, we're like, and about 10 minutes later, all of a sudden Ernie's going, Dave, I don't feel too good.
Yeah, it was something like this. And it's not like me to feel like that. I mean, I believe that everyone has natural instinct, and we all walk into that place where you get the goosebumps. And, you know, and some people, I feel, confuse that with being like an empath, where I think everyone has natural instincts and has the ability to feel things. I'm just not real strong into that. And for me to feel funny, that's just not a common occurrence.
And that'll happen to people. I mean, the doll behind me, I'm like, which way? She is very, very strong. And I have had people, when I have been on podcasts, say that they could feel her energy, and they don't consider themselves to be empathic or people that can feel as well. And so, you know, it's vibrational. So, you know, are you okay? My dog is sneezing.
Bless you.
If you have a lower vibration, like let's say that you are heavy into drugs and alcohol, and you are, you know, stealing, and you're just, you know, not living the best life, you vibrationally will attract things that match that. So you're not going to necessarily be attracting, you know, angels and things of a higher vibration. But if your vibration is higher, you can still pick up on things that are lower. You can still pick up on that. You know what I mean? But it's interesting how some things it just will set people off. You know, how just, you know, I've had people hold my doll before, and they're like, are you kidding me? And they're like, I normally don't feel this. And it's very interesting, and it needs to be studied, you know. It needs to be studied, like, why are some things stronger than others? You know, people have haunted objects. How come some haunted objects are stronger than others? I had a situation where I was being tormented by a spirit, and this spirit was so strong, and I firmly believe that that spirit had an attachment. So in life, this man was mentally ill, and he had an attachment or multiple attachments, and he still had them in death.
Wow.
And I think that that's why he was so strong. I've never encountered anything.
That's something you don't hear a lot.
That's well, wicked wow.
Huh.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't figure it out for the longest time. And I was like, well, why is it? Like, I mean, I'm talking to the point where I thought I was possessed. I was having such intrusive thoughts that I thought I was possessed and that something was wrong with me. I'm a trance medium, but I didn't know that at the time. So I'm a natural trance medium, which means that spirit can speak through me. I allow them into my energetic field, and they can speak through me, but I'm in control of it. This was like I was not in control, and I didn't know what was going on. But once I found out what it was, and I had somebody tell me, oh, no, you're not possessed. You're a trance medium. At that moment, I got control over it. And so it's never happened again, where it's been so intrusive that I felt I almost had to like put my hand over my mouth to stop words from coming out of my mouth. I mean, it was incredible. It was scary, honestly.
I don't know what made me, because that's creepy what you're talking about. But
yeah, for sure.
I guess that's what made this pop in my mind. But it's kind of funny now, but it's unnerving. But Dave and I, we were contacted to host a public investigation at a location that used to be a residence, Princess House. Mm-hmm. And so we're like, all right. So we said, sure, we'll lead the way. And, you know, the tickets go on sale. You know how it goes. So we knew nothing about this place. So I had a medium friend of mine that we work with do a remote view on the place. And she did her thing. And she told me, she was like, hey, I just got to warn you. She said, I picked up on 2 spirits there. Okay. But the spirits themselves are in different dimensions. They're unaware of each other. I was like, okay. And she goes, but here's the kicker of it. There's a mean old woman spirit there, and she's waiting for you. She knows you're coming, and she's waiting for you.
Like,
and shit. I was like, man, you talk about chills. I was, and it's funny because the evidence that we picked up on actually kind of coincided with what we were being told. But here was the kicker of it.
When we went outside to talk to the
ladies next door, I'm inside, I don't know, checking cameras or whatever for the guests arrive. Dave's outside, and he's talking to some of the locals,
to the neighbors right next door.
And she tells him about this mean old lady that used to live there that was going insane. So it
she went out into the street naked and did not want to come in.
Right.
And then got yelled at people for coming near her.
Right. But they had to call the police on her like 2 or 3 times. And Dave asked, well, whatever happened to her? And they're like, we don't know.
We don't know.
She was gone.
Vanished.
Like,
Wow.
they don't know if she passed away. She got put away. But when he called me out there, and it was a little old lady he was talking to, and she was so sincere. And he's like, this is my partner, Ernie. Tell him what you just told me. And she's rambling about this mean old lady. And I could just feel them goosebumps coming back again. Like, oh, wow. But
they know. Because there's no such thing as time. There's no such thing as time. So they know. And I'll tell you, I link into locations before I go there all the time. And I was going to Old South Pittsburgh Hospital in Tennessee, and I'd been there before. And I was picking up on this like angry, protective, strong, like he seemed like a janitor type energy. And he was like wearing coveralls and stuff. And I hadn't picked up on him before when I was there. But I was having visions of myself, like walking into a room and feeling demonic energy. And so it's like I'm having a vision with this feeling. And it's a very, very distinct feeling. And so I was just like, oh my God, like, is that what's going to happen? You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, well, I'm still going. So we do the human pendulum. If you're familiar with that, the human pendulum is where, you have a circle, one person's the pendulum, and, you ask yes or no questions and you allow the spirit to move the body. Well, I'm always the pendulum because I channel at the same time. I start doing that and like speaking for the spirit. So, it was this guy that I was seeing that was moving me, and he was just, grumpy and irritated. And he just kept saying, no. Like before even questions were asked, he was just not being cooperative. And then later that night, I was in a hallway, pitch black. It was like a lab area where I guess, they had rooms where they would draw blood, and then they would, they had like counters and stuff where I guess they would do the analysis and all that. So it's pitch black and I'm standing there, and I kid you not, this spirit manifested about 4 feet in front of me, charging me just out of thin air, charging me. And I jumped out of the way and I'm like, oh my God, of course I'm the only one that saw it. I was the only one meant to see it because it was for me. And it was that guy. Well, it didn't scare me away. I was just kind of like, whoa, like that was crazy. But I didn't encounter this demonic feeling. He was trying to intimidate me for some reason before I got there. And I'm not sure why. I don't know if he thought that I was some sort of a threat. Maybe he didn't like the fact that I linked in ahead of time. I'm not sure. But people there had told me that they were familiar with who he was and that he was just very, very protective. But it was just really, really odd that happened, and that he was able to give me that feeling, because that feeling, I don't know if you've ever felt it. It's not like anything else to feel something demonic, to feel something that is just evil. It was crazy. But I love the place and I'll go back.
We were at one of our locations up in Bainbridge, Pennsylvania. And Ernie and I had a lecture going on there, and then we had an investigation going on. So before everybody got there, we did a preliminary sweep. We walked across. And as we walked out of this one room, right behind me, I hear, and I turned. And like right here in my face was this mass. I turned to Scooby Dude the other direction as fast as I could. And I almost ran him over trying to get by. And I was trying to say, Ernie, there's something in there. He thought I was having a medical emergency.
Did you, Connie, have you ever seen someone, and I always tease Dave about, Dave, the lights just came on.
Yeah, I just saw that. My lights just came on here on their own.
We had in front of us is all pitch dark, and the ceiling lights just came on.
Automatic, and they're tied in with that one over there. So okay.
Wow. Anyway,
So anyhow,
have you ever seen someone so startled, so frightened, it's like they freeze?
I could not get a word out
like
of my mouth.
I thought Dave was stroking out on me because
Yeah.
he was trying to say something, but it was like something was holding him back.
And I was
Yeah.
pointing.
Like,
I
mean, it looked like, I hate that. I mean, it's a stupid term, but he looked scared to death. Like he couldn't get out.
And
He just kept pointing.
And so he holds up a floor camera, and you could see the mass.
Yeah, I actually got it
on camera.
Because the flare guns we have, of course, you can
record.
Yeah, you can take a full shot.
And he got. You could see the head. You could see and it was probably 7 foot tall.
Yeah, it was just.
But it was right here. I mean, literally in my face, and I literally left footprints on his back going by.
It was just. It wasn't like a person, but you could see the head and the shoulders, and then it just went straight down, and it was like 7 feet. It was taller than the archway of the room.
Wow.
But he said it kind of like bum rushed him, like you explained.
Yeah, when you said that, I mean, when I heard that bang, 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 and I turned, I mean, it was literally right here.
The thing was, I heard the banging too, because what I thought was, see, the venue we were at, we came through the kitchen because we had the keys. We came through the kitchen and locked the door. We didn't open up the mansion yet. And we heard that, and I was like, oh, shoot, somebody must be early and knocking on the kitchen door.
Right, and I heard it from a window, which was right here. So he was in front of me, and he could hear down the steps. But I heard it from the window right here, and as I turned, first you say it, then you do it, then you clean your pants afterward.
Yeah, it was like, whatever it was on him quick, because everything about he had a behavioral change like I've never seen in Dave. And his face had like a frozen, startled look on it. It was crazy. I should have took a picture of him instead of the shadows.
It's sort of like a.
I recently had that happen. It was at Penhurst, right after Gettysburg. I went to Penhurst, and I was in this one room. I can't remember what building it is, and I apologize, but I was in one room and I was with somebody else, and she kind of wanted to like work on her abilities, and there was a closet. And so I said to her, I said, let's shut off our lights. Something is going to walk out of the closet. So she's like, okay. So we turn off our lights, and this mask comes out of the closet, and
awesome.
Freaks out. And I'm like, it's okay. I'm like, calm down. And so she's like, I can't believe that. I'm like, let's do it again. I said, it's going to happen again. So she said, okay. So we did it again. And then I called everybody else into the room, and I was like, everybody just, come in here and check this out. And there was stuff coming out of the closet. And then I was near the doorway. And then all of a sudden, this black mask comes, and it was blacker than black. You know how it is, where it's like you don't think it can get any darker.
When you're dark, and you can still see the blackness in the black.
Yeah.
Yes.
And but this thing was like really up on me, and I was like, like you need to back up.
Yeah, you're giving goosebumps right now, for real.
I was arguing with it. I was like, you're gonna back up. I'm like, you're not gonna mess with me. Like, you can come in here, but you're not getting that close to me. Like, that's not happening. So I started like energetically pushing it. I'd shove it a little, and it would go out, and then it would come in, and it would try to do it. Like, it was just trying to mess with me. And I'm like, come on. I'm like, it didn't scare me. It didn't scare me. I don't get scared. And I think it's because I was scared so much growing up. And it was because I wasn't able to discern good from bad. It was just all weird. So it was all bad because it was all different. You feel energy and you don't know. But now everything is just curious. So when the dude like charges me, I'm like, expletives and jump out of the way. I was just like, whoa, I'm like, that's kind of cool. So it's like a defense mechanism that I have, which I'm very happy that I have, because before it was like, I want to see something, but I only want to be around other people. Otherwise, I'm going to pee my pants and die and pee my pants and die some more. Like, I don't want to have an experience by myself. But now it's like, you can't control that. It happens all the time. You know, you can't be like, it can only be, you know, under these circumstances. It doesn't work that way. So
I've only had one, man, it was like I was frozen in time. I've only had one experience that extreme. And we weren't there for anything paranormal. My wife said that her and her friend, my wife's friend and her boyfriend or whatever the hell he was, they wanted to go to Gettysburg and asked if Ruby and I would go with them. So we were in Gettysburg and it was just starting to turn dark. Just the sun was just starting to set. And we were at Little Round Top and we were behind the monument. And we, like I said, we weren't there for anything ghost related. And I was like this. I was putting batteries in my camera or fooling with my camera. My head was down. And, you know, like I could feel that Ruby was standing in front of me while I was screwing with the camera. Well, I'm talking to her, like thinking like, you know, probably complaining about the damn camera, batteries, whatever. Now I'm thinking she's in front of me because I just had that feeling like someone was in my space. So as I was talking to her, I heard her talk to her friend, but she was off to my side. And I went like this as I started like looking up. And as I slowly started looking up, I noticed legs and a roughly like lace white dress. And as I started to come up, as I almost got, because I kept my movement slow, as I got like toward the waist area, whatever this thing was rushed me. And
whoa.
I don't know what happened, but when I come to my sense, I mean, I have never been that scared in my life. When I come to my senses, Connie, I was sitting in the driver's seat of my car like this, holding my camera. And the people with me were around the car. And I asked Ruby what happened. And she goes, I don't know. She said, your legs locked up and went out from under you and you hit the ground and rushed off and got in the car. And I don't even remember that. Like, things do not scare me. Ask him. Like, it's hard to scare me.
Well, that's like,
and I have all I know is what's that?
That's like super intense. I mean, yeah, 4 feet in front of me rushing me, that's intense. But like you're like looking up like and it like that close to you.
I never got to see who it was because it was this close to me. I'm assuming it's Ruby, and I'm just fooling with my camera and talking to her. And then, like I said, I heard her voice to my side.
Yeah.
So as I start,
I
start to look up, I'm noticing a white dress. And that quick, it's like nobody with me is wearing a white dress. And before I could process what I was seeing, or I could look up any further, it just took a step, like just step to me. And I guess I went in such panic mode. I hit the ground and then I come to my senses. I was sitting in my car. So I don't know. That's the first time it's ever happened. It's never do moment. Yeah, it's never happened again.
When you had that experience, Ernie, and I want to ask, you the same question about that black mass, Dave. Like, did either one of you feel anything other than your own emotion? Like, were you able to feel like intention or any type of emotion from the mass or the woman in the white dress?
When only thing I could think of is it was intentionally trying to scare me. That's what it felt like.
What is that? Is that you? That beeping?
That is my DVR saying something is close to my house walking around on my cameras. So something's by my house right now.
That's crazy. But that's crazy. Just the ceiling lights come on by themselves. Yeah, there's no one here but us.
That's my camera.
Things happen.
Caught up with something. But yeah, so it felt like something was intentionally trying to scare the shit out of me. That's all I could feel.
Now for me, it happened so quick that when I started to look up and I saw that it was a ruffly type lacy, whatever dress. That didn't scare me. It was the bum rush that startled me. And for a split second, I mean, I did feel like, imminent fear, because why the hell would you rush at me like that?
Why would you come up
But-
into my
Yeah, but
area?
after that, I like I said, I was in such panic mode. I guess it frightened me so bad that I don't even remember going to my car. It was like a 5-second
crazy.
blackout. Yeah, I can't explain it, and it's never happened since. I don't know.
The one thing that I will say that disturbed me recently is that when I was at Pennhurst, one of the people that I was with, she walked right past me, and she went into the hallway, and she saw me and another woman walk and go into a room. And she's like, hey, and she started to follow us, but then she felt something like super wrong. And she came back into the room, and she's looking at me, and she's like, I just saw you in the hallway. And I'm like, you walked right past me. And she's like, I saw the two of you in the hallway. She's like, I saw you go into this room. And that was really disturbing to me, that it was mimicking me for some reason. Like, that really disturbed me.
We had before, because we're running really, really close to time. We host public investigations at a certain location. We'll actually be there in a few weeks. That's what we got to make an announcement. But Jeff Leeper, he was one of our special guests one night. And of course, Dave was there. And unknowingly to each other, they both, while they had their group in the mansion, thought they saw me, like motion for them to come into a room. But the whole time, I was outside.
Downstairs outside.
I was outside. I wasn't even in the building. And Jeff Leeper saw it, come out to see where I was. And then while he was outside telling me, Dave saw it.
I saw him go downstairs like this. And so I walked around the corner, and there's nothing there. I'm like,
but here's the funny thing. We had never told nobody that yet. The following 2 weeks after that, there was a paranormal team that rented the location. We're investigating it, and I knew they were there. So I'm like, hey, keep me posted with what you get. They called me in the middle of the night and was like, you are not going to believe what just happened. And I'm like, what happened? And they're like, we saw something with our own eyes that we thought was you. Like, they thought that I arranged with the owner of the mansion, like to play a joke on them or something. Like, I was just gonna be there or whatever. And I'm like, I'm sitting in my living room watching Family Guy. I'm nowhere near Pennsylvania right now. So
that's crazy.
Isn't it weird?
So there's a doppelganger in there that's mimicking him.
He's good looking doppelganger too.
Yeah, I didn't like that. I'm like, don't pretend to be me.
Connie, we got to let you go, my dear.
Yeah, it's about that time.
Thank you so much. We appreciate
Thank you for having me.
That hour went quick.
It did.
I know.
That hour went quick.
I can talk forever.
If we don't cross paths between them, we will see you at the bash.
For sure.
We're going to get her on the show again.
Well, I mean, in person.
Yeah.
We'll figure out what side of the
Next
hotel
time I come to Maryland, I'll let you know.
Yeah, let me know. Because
we got to take her to Ramblewood.
Yeah, we might have something going on, and you're close by and be our special guest. And
as soon as I said Ramblewood,
he's picking up one another. That's weird stuff.
I have IR cameras all around my yard, and they don't go off randomly. That means something's either really there or. But I haven't heard it that loud. Okay.
I'll be in touch, my dear. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
She was amazing.
Yeah,
I love her.
She's so much fun. We had such a good time with Cahni at the bash.
Oh, that's
real quick, everybody.
Thanks, Colette.
For those in the New York area, Saturday, September 16th, myself, Mr. Ted Van Son, who you might know from Paratalk Radio, Paranormal Witness. He even was featured on Ghost Nation. Myself, Ted, and Mr. Jack Kenna. who you know from the show The Haunted Case Files, will be doing a lecture at the Caledonia Courtyard in Caledonia, New York on September 16th. And immediately the following weekend, Dave and I will be hosting another public investigation at...
Isn't that one Sam Miller?
Sam Miller, man.
I'm right. Hey, I've been looking at schedule. I've been through.
He's off. Today.
I'm off of my. I'm checked.
But yeah, check. If you're interested and you didn't see the link on our Paranormal Link page, you can get your tickets there. Or if you prefer to pay at the door, just contact one of us and we can arrange that for you. Before we go, and I'm going to get serious for a minute. Before we go, I try. Dave and I never really ask nobody for anything or help or nothing like that. But please, my family needs your prayers. For those of you that have ever, listened to or saw one of my lectures or possibly thumbed through my book, you notice that I mention and talk about my uncle a lot. Big inspiration, not just in my spirituality, but in my life in general. He's very sick, and I was with him yesterday, and I'll leave it at that. I don't want to get too personal, but please, if you have prayers. 10 seconds, please say a prayer for my uncle, and he really needs it, and we all need it. And just to my family, Ruby and I and Dave, we're praying for you. We're thinking about you, and I can't think of any better people to call on for prayers than the Paranormal family, because that's the most amazing bunch of people that we have in our life. So thank you very much. Hope you can join us New York, September 16th. If not, check us out at the Samuel Miller Mansion on September 23rd, and we will see you here in 2 weeks, and we will announce our next special guest.
Thanks for joining us, folks.
Bye.
You've been listening to Step into the Paranormal with Ernie Atwell and David Seiler. Thank you for listening, and listen in next week for another topic and more great guests right here on WLFE DB Radio Network.